Hey everybody, it's Andrew Lucio and Kyle Waple again. Today, we're talking about the surprising meta breakdown of all the ProQuests that have been happening so far. So let's just get right into it. It's being showcased quite a bit because it's making a lot of top 8 appearances. But when it comes to sealing the deal, it's the waifu supreme, your lady Prism, that's actually bringing home the bacon. How excited are you? What are you doing right now with your deck, reflective of all the Prisms that are winning? I mean, we just had one of our local guys, no longer on our team, but one of our local guys, very proud of him, Dalen Mack, won a ProQuest down in Houston with Prism. Came back against a Viserai at 3 health because the Viserai player tried to push pace and ignore auras. I've learned that lesson thanks to you. Never ignore the auras. Doesn't matter how much of a lead you have, always deal with the auras. And this guy lost. And Dalen came back from 3 because Prism is just that strong right now. Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinions. Tell me about your deck breakdown. Tell me everything. I want to hear it all.
I mean, like, Prism's been one of the best decks, I feel like, ever since Monarch revealed. I feel like her toughest matchups have always been aggro. So, like, she had an issue with Chain, but also she was the only character that could contest Chain because we had Arclight Sentinel. And then, like, once we kind of hit Chain, Prism started to, like, get back in the limelight and be really popular until Tails came out. And then Briar, like the whole aggro Briar thing, just absolutely shut Prism down.
Too hyper efficient.
And so we stopped seeing Prism again. But now that like Briar's kind of taking a hit, and now she's taking a back seat, Prism really can just shine again because there's not a lot of decks that just absolutely beat it. There's a lot of 50-50 matchups, and she's good against a lot of the best decks in the format. Starvo showed us week 1. He can win a lot. That deck is insane. And if you draw the right draw and you just can go in with 2 attacks every turn, it's insane.
The consistency with Starvo, that's the issue that a lot of people were having right at the beginning, right? So the genesis of the conversation was that with Crown of Seeds, with Avalanche, is it Avalanche? Not Avalanche. What is it called? The instant that allows you to search the deck for
Awakening.
Awakening, yeah. So with Awakening, with the Crown, with those cards, you could cycle, filter, and get into your deck and just make sure that you were always fixing your hand in such a ratio that you could consistently go, oh, here's all 3 types, and now I've got +2, dominate, and go again on this attack. And you're about to take a lot of damage. It's about to go down. And it's like a 50% consistency, but the proof is always in the pudding. And this is what I tell people all the time. We used to talk ad nauseum about the potential that Briar had and the hyper efficiency that Briar had. And then the proof was in the pudding. All the statistics, the number of tops, the number of wins, everything was going there. But let's fast forward and draw that same parallel to Starvo. Starvo's not sealing the deal. A lot of top 8s, but just not sealing the deal and losing out to decks like Viserai and losing out to Prism. And it is what it is. So the consistency is just not equivalent, but also Prism consistency is not equivalent. Prism's not taking the majority of these ProQuests either. There's a lot of one-offs. We have some people winning with Dash. We have some people getting into the finals with Levia. I'd love to see the numbers on that. I mean, these are smaller pools, 30 players, 20 players. But at the same time, we just can't get that same consistency across the board with a deck like Prism because unlike Briar, Prism doesn't hold your hand. So Prism's strength is that she has infinite lines of play. She can handle anything, and she can pivot on a dime from aggro to defense and right back to mid-range and go every which way in between. In the hands of a skilled player, she can just keep going. What new cards are giving her the edge right now in the meta? What have you added to your deck?
I mean, you really can't talk about Prism if you're not talking about the zero-cost auras.
Oh, yeah.
The ability for Prism now to lay 2 auras a turn is so disruptive, and it requires such a response that no deck can keep up with, that it's like, here's 2 auras, on your turn, you can answer one, but that's going to end your turn. And so, like, no one can keep up with that, because if I can do a 2 aura turn, and then on the next turn after they answer one, I get another 2 auras out, it's just not going to become recoverable. Like, it's just going to go out of pace way too fast. And, like, all of these things exist, and you still have to be careful of Prism's other mechanics. All of my attacks are 7s that you have to pop, or if I have an erudition coming at you and you don't stop it, I'm drawing 2 cards. Half of the 0-cost auras are making those cards more threatening. There's just so many like little things that Prism added that she just has such a big tool belt.
When we look at the actual deck makeup, we're looking at Haze Bending. We're looking at the new one that takes away Phantasm. Which one is that one? Haze Bending does the, if you pop it, you get a shield, right? That's Haze Bending?
Yes.
Okay, but there's the other one that says every first attack you play, you lose Phantasm. I can't remember which one that is.
I hate their names. Pierce Reality gives +2. Shimmers gives the +1. I actually don't remember the name of that one.
Well, anyways, long story short, you can put in 3 of each of those cards. So the aura count goes up. And we know for a fact that once you start increasing the count of a card type, you increase the efficiency of the game plan. So just like Kyle was saying, being able to put 2 auras on the board, even with Brute, you can't consistently generate 2 action points every single turn. So if I'm playing Rhinar, I can put 2 action points on the board by playing my 0-cost searcher for any card, and then pitching, and then if it's a 6, I get 2 action points. The name literally...
Sand Sketch Plan.
There you go, Sand Sketch Plan. From the Prism player. But anyways, the point is, and I can scab skins, right? I can do all these things, but I can't do it every turn. I've got 3 Sand Sketch, and I've got these scab skins, but the scab skins don't guarantee that I'm going to roll the 4, 5, or the 6. And on top of that, if I mess up, I've only got 1 redo. Yep. 1. That's it. So the limitation here is potentially 4 cards, whereas the Prism player 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 27 different auras in the deck. So the consistency is just boom, 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 respond, boom, 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 respond. And if you can't respond to 2, you fall behind. And when you fall behind, that's when they start gaining some advantage. That's when they can go, okay, yeah, I'll take a little bit of damage. I'll do this, I'll do that, and then I'll accelerate. And then once the game plan starts to accelerate, it becomes very difficult. The one that I don't like the most, obviously, is the one that takes away Phantasm. I have to be able to consistently pop everything that's coming across the board. But if I have that on the board, and I've also got this other aura on the board that's giving some extra value with pluses or counters, or if you pop something, I'm going to get a shield, then it makes it very hard for me to keep my tempo and push back on that Prism player. So these matches are getting more difficult because, again, Prism got a lot of support, you know. So hopefully we go to the Savage Lands and I get a lot of support, and then Reinhardt's on top of the mountain. But I can tell you right now, the build that I'm using right now has been doing very, very well. Super, super consistent. We're looking at some cool things. We kept the Enlightened Strikes. We kept the Ravenous Rabbles. We're putting in a Garganian Tome, so that sometimes when we play Ravenous Rabble, we're 5 and go again. It blew my mind when I saw it the first time. I was like, for 1 card, sure, I'll go to 61. Sounds good. Sure. Let's get lucky. That's what Reinhardt's all about. Let's get lucky. But anyways, long story short, Prism's doing insane. Prism is actually hyper consistent right now with the aura plan. But all that means is that you as the player, you've got to answer the auras. You can't let them sit. You can't go, okay, I'm going to go face. And you need to, for whatever you can do, you need to answer 2 auras in a turn. So Time Skippers, that's a viable card. Pitch a blue, right? Keep a card in your arsenal that you're going to use for attack. You still have a 4-card hand. You still have a 4-card hand, and you got your 2 action points that you need to respond. So start investing and getting those Time Skippers. It's literally, it's just junk. It's junk equipment.
Yep.
Right? Anyone can get it.
Still have
Anyone
lead the
can use
charge.
it. Yeah. You got lead the charge. That generates action points as well. So there are so many things. And remember, it's on play, right? So like I go lead the charge. I play Spectra. Boom. The action point was already created. Now I can answer the other one. There are things that you can do for your deck to answer this. A lot of people don't want to do that, though.
No. But
that's the whole problem. But hey, look, pick your poison, right? Pick your poison. You can't sideboard exclusively for Starvo and then just eat it in the Prism matchup. That's why Prism is doing so well right now, because that's what people are doing.
Prism's a threat.
It's crazy, right? Starvo's a threat too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
Starvo's insane.
Yeah,
Starvo is a problem actually.
It's where we're at. So here's the deal, right? Where we're at with Starvo is that people are playing the deck very intelligently. That's where we're at right now. So, star of the show, all three of the legendary, not the legendary, but the majestic specializations ones, right? All the pulses, right? Mm-hmm. Volthaven, Candlehold, whatever, right? So you have all three of those in the deck, and those are twos, right? So now you only have to transition on your turn one, or for the beginning of your turn, not your turn one, but your beginning of turn, you only have to transition one other element. So it makes the deck ratios ultra consistent, and you can just hold on to that card. You can just literally never pitch that card for anything, and on a turn where you arsenal, you're still swinging with everything. And because it's Guardian Ice, right? It's Ice Guardian, the Winter's Whale.
Yeah.
Well,
Elemental Guardian.
Yeah, it's Elemental. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're still getting it, right? Like, you still get the Winter's Whale with Star of the Show, so you can still just push the game plan of, okay, I don't have a big pop-off turn, so I'm just going to swing this 4. And if you take the hit, you get a Frostbite, which is going to mess up your game plan. No matter what people said, we all had an opinion on Frostbite. Certain decks it affects harder than others. Having to pay 1 extra on a 4 red card hand can really be devastating. Okay, and 4 red card hands happen. I don't care what your deck makeup is. Eventually, you're going to run into a 4 red card hand. Everyone does. It's just how it goes. It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, but you have, you still have your helmets. You can bottom deck. You can fix your hand. And Oakenold's too cheap.
You think Oakenold's too cheap for 3? Think it's too cheap?
1 damage. That's all you have to do. 1 damage, and you get it in. Like Crippling Crush, it has to deal 4 damage.
So that's the issue?
You can block, but Oakenold, 1 damage out of 11.
So let's talk about Oakenold for a second, okay? When you look at Oakenold, who's on the picture? It's Oldham, right?
Yeah.
Old man's there, right? So every card that we have ever produced in the game where someone's face is on the card, what are we talking about here? That's their specialization. That's it. Period. I don't want to hear it from anybody. What is Oldham's specialization card right now? It's the Blizzard card,
Endless
right?
Winter.
Endless Winter, right? Okay. That's not him on the picture.
Nope.
That's a young guy who's another Guardian.
And every set has 2 specializations, and for whatever reason, Tails only gave every character 1. Right?
So if you look at Briar's specialization, the Blossoming one, right? Who's on the picture?
I think it's Briar.
Oh my God! If you look at Lexi's specialization, the Livewire card or whatever, light it up, right? Who's on the card?
Lexi's right on the
card. But when we get the Oldham card, they knew they were making Star of the Show, and they knew that they wanted him to be able to use it. So they said, okay, well, we can't make this a specialization for Oldham because we want Starvo to exist. We want this deck to be a thing. It has to be a thing. We want it to be a thing. But you know what? It's perfectly balanced in the meta. The triangle format right now is Prism, Starvo, Viserai, okay? If you're going to play anything else, it's got to fit right in the middle of the triangle, all right? There's not a lot of decks that do that. Dash can get there.
I think Chain can get there.
Chain can get there. And guess what? I think Reinhardt can get there too, but I got to prove it. Look, we're going to Reaper. Reaper is another shop that's in our area. We're going there next week. I'm taking Reinhardt. I've got a good sideboard. I've been practicing the deck. The deck feels good. And I'm going to go in there. And look, if I win the whole thing, then we can come back here next week and make the video and be like, look, Reinhardt's in the center of that triangle. He's definitely not one of the points because you can answer him by racing him. You've always been able to race Reinhardt. Some decks do it better than others. But look, if you want to race, that's fine. I love that. We'll play that game all day. That's literally a coin flip for me. I love 50-50 odds. Let's go. Somebody's going to outskill the other person. I'm ready to do it. But anyways, long story short, yeah, I mean, I don't know if Oakenold's really that big of a problem, but it definitely should have been Oldham's specialization based on the art, based on precedents from every other set, and based on from the set it came from with the Blossoming and with the Lighted Up. That should have been a specialization, and they need to fix that. It just needs to be fixed. And literally, an errata for that would be so simple because you could literally tell every person in the game, that's a specialization, and they would go, oh, is that like an errata? And they'd be like, yeah, look, it's his face. His face is on there. It's Oldham. It's Oldham's card. Real simple stuff. Viserai, though. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Viserai. So we've got two different versions of Viscerai that are doing extremely well. Mid-range has come a long way with the new card. What was that new card called? I can't remember. You literally just picked it up.
Gosh.
You literally just picked it up.
I don't know. It's big. It's big words.
It's
not a prism.
It's
card.
got like an alien on it with like purple or something, and it does things. It makes you not be able to block arcane damage, and that's a big deal for mid-range push.
It's like as long as you've made 3 rune chants, you get go again +1, and on hit you will take all the arcane for the rest of the turn.
Yeah.
That card is absolutely insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, for OTK builds that are trying to pop off in one big turn, it's a good lead card. For mid-range builds that are trying to just utilize or maximize the efficiency of a 2-turn investment into a Mordred Tide, have a big pop-off turn without breaking Skeletta or investing, 5, 6, 7 turns into building up, 20-plus rune chants, it just makes those decks more efficient. So mid-range is having a showing. And Viscerai has become another deck that's been able to pivot. And that's what makes decks really, really good and makes them tier 1, is the ability to pivot and to actually be able to get there when the game starts to go sideways. And that's really all it is. When the game starts to go sideways. Because at the end of the day, we have an 80 card cap. Yes, equipment's going to take about 6 to 8 of that. And on top of all of that, your core deck is going to be designed for the triangle. But you don't know what kind of Starvo you're going to sit across from. If they put down the sledgehammer, you're like, oh, God, what is this? I don't even know what's going on now, okay, because there's no Winter's Well there. So what's the strategy here? And you didn't prepare for that, so you need to be able to pivot, right? There's not a lot of decks that can do that. I can tell you right now, Rhinar, very linear. We don't do a lot of pivoting. It's rip your hand apart, smash you in the face. It's very linear. The idea is there, and we don't really pivot a lot. So there are decks that can't do it as well. But two of those decks that can do it, Prism for one, and right now, Viscerai, and being able to shift from the defensive long game OTK plan to a more aggressive mid-range plan that literally can shut down a ton of decks. I mean, your mid-range plan with just a 2-turn investment means every other turn you're popping off for 17 plus damage. It's just so much. It's so much. And right now, because of Mordred Tide, because of all of the new rune chant producers and the different auras and everything else that's going on with the game, you can go Mordred Tide and on a turn make 9 plus rune chants. So anything in your hand is going to be free. Oath of the Ninth Blade of the Oath, your rune flashes, and all these other things that get reduced. I mean, like, we have a 3-cost, 6 damage attack that reduces by 1 for every rune chant. Arknight Ascension, right? It's insane, And then we have Arknight Ascendancy or whatever, the one that's like, okay, well, I'm going to get Dominate. You don't see a lot of that in the builds right now, but I mean, like in a mid-range build, if they pull it in from the side and you get dominated, hit, and this thing has go again because of Maruvian, and they got 5 on the board, so you took the 5 arcane, and this thing's coming across, and let's say it's big, let's say it's like an 8 or a 10 because they're also running the enchantment, the sledge one, the one that's like 3 Slogism, right? So they run the Slogism, now you're like 10 coming across, and you can't block this damage. So not only did they hit you, not only did they swing in, pop 6 of these bad boys, not only is 16 damage coming out your board, but now it's like every point of damage that comes across is going to make new ones, and we're still going because the Maruvian gave us go again. So it's like, it's an insane setup, but it's like a 2-turn investment. That's nothing. That's literally nothing. 2 turns, and it's like, I'm going to do this, you're going to go. Now we're on turn 2. Boom, I'm coming in for 17 plus damage. And it sucks. And to do that consistently, and we can do it more consistently now because we have more rune chant producers that have go again. So it's a thing. It's an absolute thing. The meta right now feels great. I love a triangle format. I love when the meta is match-based. I mean, how are you feeling about the meta? You've played in the ProQuest that we had here at the shop. What was your experience like playing against all these decks? Do you feel like we're in that Briar format again, or do you feel like everything else is feeling really good? Do you feel like you're there?
I'm feeling pretty good. My first impressions of playtesting Star was I was like, this deck's kind of insane, but it's like sometimes it misses, sometimes it hits. So, and it's like other decks have a solid matchup against it. I think Viscerai and Prism are really well positioned. So it's like, this is way better than Briar format, where it was literally a 1-deck format. I think like Oldhim can still squeeze in, Cheney can still squeeze in, Dash can still get in. So it's like, this feels like a good format, honestly.
Yeah. Just remember, guys, things are going to change. When you have dynamic heroes that can do things and do them efficiently, like Starvo, you know, it's going to feel oppressive, but the results always matter. Always. And right now, I'm just not seeing it. So everybody calling for Starvo to get some kind of a hit, sure, if they want to put the specialization for Oldhim on that card for Oakenold, I support it. But at the same time, I'm not really seeing it. So we just got to keep playing. Just got to keep grinding. Come up with good sideboards, do your things, play what feels fun. And you can actually do that now. So tier 1.5 characters and tier 2 characters, they can still get in there and they can still get wins. Tier 2 Kano, he got a win. It was not in the U.S., but he got a win. He got a ProQuest. So, hey, anyone can do it, baby. Let's get in there. Let's have fun. There's really nothing more to say. You got anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right, guys. So we'll update you next week after we do our ProQuest, and then we'll see what's going down. All right?
Take it easy.
Peace.